going to come back to it because I know she's busy. She's just come off that Woke AM show and she joins us on the line. The woman who knows what the Labor Party tax policy is before they do, Nicola Willis. Nicola, welcome to the platform. Nice to have you back on.
Great to be on the show, Sean.
Well, you were right, weren't you? Your little source, the little bird that told you about the GST thing, was bang on.
They were indeed, and look, that's because Labor has been leaking like a sieve. And remember, when I came out and said that this was happening, the point I made was this is against Grant Robertson's better judgment. Just 3 months ago, he was saying this wasn't the right approach, and so you saw him having to really suck it up yesterday.
Yeah, also against, historically, Michael Cullen's better judgment.
That's right. Michael Cullen pointed out this will have huge admin costs, that it will disproportionately benefit the wealthy, and that it's highly unlikely all of the benefit will actually be passed on to consumers. It's quite likely supermarkets will benefit most.
Yeah. Do you think Labor were leaking it to road test it, see if it was a positive or negative in an electoral sense?
No, I don't think so. I just think that they are sloppy internally and information is making its way to us because there are actually internal divisions about the approach they should be taking. I mean, this is pretty desperate stuff. It's the kind of policy that you turn to when you run out of ideas and you run out of principles, because every expert will tell you this is not going to directly benefit the people you're trying to target. The better way to do that is income tax reduction. But Labor have just been so stubbornly against income tax cuts that they've been forced into this silly corner.
Yeah. It also, though, came out as part of a package around working for families and state support for families, which will be fully implemented, I think, by 2026 or something. Surely that offers some relief for the Kiwi battlers.
Look, I'm glad that working families are going to get some benefit out of that plan if it were delivered. National's going to make sure that families are better off under our plan. But also bear in mind, those changes benefit fewer than 1 in 10 households. And the benefit of our income tax plan is that it's going to get all of those other people who deserve some relief, you know, the young couple saving for a house, the superannuitants, the people who don't have kids but are still being smashed at the supermarket each week. So we want to make sure.
Have you got your tax policy out yet, Nicola?
We will be announcing our final tax policy very soon. You'll just have to be patient for a little bit longer, and when you see it, I think you're going to like it.
Okay, all right. What is coming next from Labor? What are your leakers, what are your insiders telling you is their next throw of the dice? Look,
I don't have specifics for you today, but what I predict is we're going to see more policies that might sound okay on the tin at first blush, but that in reality will not deliver to New Zealanders. And I think people have experienced that with Labor over the past 6 years. You know, the big promises like Kiwi Build, 100,000 houses, and then things that fall very short on the delivery. And GST's a bit like that. You know, they're promising that people will get $4 or $5 a week out of it. Actually, they won't. A lot of that will be absorbed by shops along the way. And I think there'll be other policies like that where they make a big promise with no hope of delivering.
Look, two other things I want to discuss with you, Nicola. We have been trying to figure out the BlackRock deal and what the deal was. Do you have any more idea than we do? Because it appears no one's putting any money in and nothing is happening that couldn't have legally been done without any government intervention whatsoever.
Yeah, look, I don't have the detail, and you're right, it is a bit weird because 1 week you had the government out there saying they didn't want any international investment in New Zealand's roads, even if it was the Canadian pension funds. They didn't think that was a good idea. And then the very next week you had them falling over themselves to say, look, there's a private investor who might invest in some wind turbines. So quite an about-face. And look, the reality is, under any government, there will be investors from around the world who will choose to invest in New Zealand if they see there are good returns. And from our perspective, we've got to make sure that that meets all of our national security tests, and then we've got to make sure that that is genuinely benefiting New Zealanders. And if it does do both those things, then there's always a good case for it.
All right. Nicola, look, the other thing, Tova O'Brien tells me the Labor Party's very relaxed. They've got super secret internal polling that has a landslide to them. One of your colleagues, Chris Pink, came out and said who would trust Tova O'Brien? She sunk a radio station. And it would appear from the social media I've read over the weekend, he was told to pull his head in for saying something true by leader Chris Luxon. What is going on here? Is there free speech in the National Caucus to speak the truth or not?
Oh, look, there's absolutely free speech, and Chris Pink made that tweet. That tweet's still available if people want to see it. He personally regrets that it ended up having an impact on people who lost their jobs at Today FM, that they took offence. And so he voluntarily wanted to apologise for that because it was never his intention to upset people who'd gone through.
Is that what he told you?
Yes, what he
funny, he won't come on this morning to say, explain that.
Oh, well, look, I think he knows that New Zealanders are all focused on bigger issues, and a tweet that he put out trying to be funny that didn't quite land as he'd hoped.
Geez, I know a lot of people who found it funny.
Well, there you go, and that's the way with these things. You can have people who find it funny and people who don't. And for Chris's part, as I've said, his concern was that some of the people who'd lost their jobs had been offended. So he made his own judgment and decided that he would apologise for that impact.
But the tweet is still up, as you note.
That's right, it is.
Okay, so he can't be that sorry.
Well, look, I think he's made his decision to say what he said, and everyone else can make their own judgments on the thing.
All right, we look forward to the National Party's tax policy. I think you announced Labor's one better, and my poll suggests that most New Zealanders think you announced it better than Chris Hipkins himself.
Well, look, the thing is, it's a bit of a dog of a policy, so it's hard to dress it up and make it pretty. But I tell you, Sean, there's a few problems in it that we'll be speaking more about over the coming day because we've gone and looked at the detail of the costings, and I think there's some problems there too.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. That is Nicola Willis. She is the National Party's finance spokesperson. And now we're going to take time to listen to the Counterfactual on their tax policy that the Labor Party have offered to us this morning. So I'd like to welcome the only person who made themselves available from the Labor Party to defend their policy or even bother explaining it to you, and that person has 10 seconds starting now. Right, there you go. There was all the arguments that anyone who was backing it had in favour of Labor's GST off fruit and veg policy. And I'm going to do that every time they don't front. So there you go. There was the counterfactual to what Nicola Willis said about the fruit and veg policy as put forward by the people made available to us by the Labor Party. Good on them. Chris Pink, grow up here and ring us. You upset some people. Heaven forfend.